sovereign brains, and sovereign bodies. Reclaiming the lattice, one factory at a time.
Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something big. I mean, a truly seismic shift in the American economy. We're talking about the great manufacturing resurgence of 2026. It's this incredible story about new policies, mind-blowing new tech, and what really looks like a brand new industrial revolution.
For decades, the story of American manufacturing was pretty bleak, right? It was this familiar tale we all heard. Jobs going overseas, whole industries packing up and leaving, hollowing out the country's industrial core.
So, to really get why this 2026 comeback is such a huge deal, we've got to first understand just how deep the hole was. Let's take a look.
Yeah, look at that number, minus 74,000. That's a stark symbol of deindustrialization. That's the net number of manufacturing businesses the U.S. lost between 1995 and 2022. And you have to remember, that's not just a number on a page. We're talking about tens of thousands of actual factories, big and small, just gone, vanishing from the American landscape and taking jobs and entire local economies right along with them.
So what happened? Well, a major turning point was when the U.S. gave China what's called Permanent Normal Trade Relations, or PNTR. A 2014 Federal Reserve study actually pointed a finger directly at this policy, linking it to a really sharp, surprisingly fast drop in manufacturing jobs that started right around 2001. You see, it wasn't just about low tariffs, it was the word permanent. That took all the risk out of the equation for companies looking to move production overseas. And this chart? Wow. This really paints a picture of just how vulnerable the U.S. became. Just look at the supply chains for things like batteries or solar panels. From the moment the raw materials come out of the ground, to the processing, to the final assembly, China just dominates almost every single step. That's not just a trade imbalance, that's a serious dependency.
So this wasn't some slow-moving trend anymore. It became a real, acute problem. By 2025, the whole U.S. manufacturing sector was officially in contraction. It was actually shrinking. And that's the point where you realize, okay, this is way more than just an economic issue. This is starting to look like a national security problem just waiting to happen.
Which brings us to 2026 and a really aggressive policy pivot. The whole game plan has changed, and it's aimed squarely at turning these decades-long trends around. And it all boils down to one simple but really powerful idea. Economic security is national security. That's the guiding principle now. They're not seen as two separate things anymore. They're completely intertwined. Okay, so what does that actually look like? Well, the strategy has a lot of moving parts, as you can see from the administration's 2026 agenda. It's a mix of things like reciprocal trade programs, much tougher enforcement, and a huge push to reshore, or bring back, those critical industries. The big goal here? Rebalance the trade relationship with China and create, a more level playing field. And are we seeing any results? Well, this number gives us a hint. An increase of nearly $200 billion. That's the jump in U.S. goods and services exports since they launched that new agreement on reciprocal trade program. It's still early, for sure, but the data suggests this new approach is already starting to make a difference. But here's the thing. Policy is only half the story. These new rules, they create the reason to bring manufacturing back, but what makes it actually possible, well, that comes down to a whole other revolution that's happening at the exact same time, a technological one. And the key piece of tech here is something called Agentic AI. Now, this isn't your old-school factory robot. Okay, think about it like this. A normal robot arm just welds the same spot over and over again. Agentic AI is different. It's an intelligence that can see a problem on the assembly line, figure out how to fix it, and then tell other robots what to do, all on its own. We're talking about a massive, massive leap beyond basic automation. And this tech couldn't be arriving at a better time, because trying to bring all these factories back runs into one giant problem: people. There's a projected shortage of 2.7 million manufacturing workers in the U.S. over the next decade. That is a huge gap, and honestly, with an aging workforce and skills mismatches, it's a gap that human labor alone just can't fill. So how do you fill a 2.7 million person gap? Well, meet the new workforce, humanoid robots. And when they're powered by that agentic AI we just talked about, they become a total game changer. These aren't like the old robots that were bolted to the floor and could only do one thing. Humanoids are built to be flexible, to work in spaces designed for people, and to switch between all kinds of different tasks. So it's not just about replacing a person doing one job, it's about fundamentally changing what a factory can do.
And the speed at which these things are expected to roll out it's just staggering. I mean, look at this. We go from less than 10,000 of them in the entire world in 2024 to a projected 9 million in the US alone by 2040. To put that in perspective, that adoption rate is expected to blow past even autonomous cars. It's going to completely reshape what industrial work even means.
So, okay, let's pull this together. You've got these two huge forces, a brand new, aggressive government policy and this revolutionary new technology, and they're both pointing in the same direction, towards one big goal, achieving what's called technological sovereignty for the US.
And that big goal forces a really tough question, probably one of the most urgent ones facing policymakers right now. How does the US break its incredible dependence on China for critical minerals? I mean, these are the absolute building blocks of our modern world. They're in everything from your electric car to your phone to our most advanced defense systems.
From what we're seeing, there are kind of two main strategies on the table, and they can work together. The first one is the brute force approach. Try to outmine and outspend China. That's a huge, huge undertaking that will require massive government investment over a long time. The other strategy is to play a different game entirely. Instead of competing head-on, the idea is to leapfrog them with innovation, getting really good at things like recycling and recovering minerals from old products. That could be way cheaper, cleaner, and faster.
And this isn't just about minerals. That's just one piece of a much, much bigger puzzle. The real end game is to secure the supply chains for everything, from pharmaceuticals to semiconductors. The whole strategy is about building up our own capabilities here at home and working with our allies to make sure that the US is never again in a position where it's dangerously dependent on one single country for the stuff it absolutely needs to function.
All right, so you've got all these massive shifts happening at once. New policy, AI, robots bringing factories home. What does this all add up to? What does this new era of American manufacturing actually look like?
Well, the reality is, it's kind of a double-edged sword. On the one hand, you've got these incredible opportunities, right? Massive boosts in productivity, more secure supply chains, the creation of new high-tech, high-paying roles. But there's always a but. The other side of that sword brings some really serious challenges. This is an existential threat to many low-skilled jobs, a huge drop in demand for manual labor, and it can make the gap between high and low wages even wider.
And that really leads to the big, provocative question we want to leave you with. As these super automated factories secure the nation's supply chains, who is going to secure the future of its human workforce? Because as this becomes our new reality, the biggest challenge isn't just about bringing the factories back anymore. It's about figuring out what the role of a person is inside of them.
The permission slip is revoked. We are the architects of our own destiny.